guess what we are not doing today? I don't even need to say it. What is going on, my friends? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Today we are working on Bobby's favorite car that I own. And surprisingly enough, kind of surprisingly, I guess it is kind of, it may be a chick car. It is the E92 M3. This thing is very, very fun to drive. It's a solid ripper with the VF 650 kit that we installed on this thing. But she does have a few issues. She has an oil leak from the oil pan. That is my fault. When I did the rod bearings in the car, I must have not got the pan sealed properly because it's been leaking ever since then. So we have that issue. We have a check engine light. We have a leaky headlight. And also I think I want to change up the rear end a little bit as well. So before I do too much, I'm gonna head in and grab some 1060 liquid moly for the car, and then we can get to work. Got to pull the subframe back off the car, which is no fun. And then we can pull the pan. Might as well knock out two birds with one stone. Shag is needing a few data logs of the Evo 10 we've been tuning. 200 bucks later, we got ourselves some liquid moly 1060 and a new filter. So yeah, this thing's quite wet, as you can see. Damn oil leaks. Those things are the worst. Well, I feel really, really dumb right now. This car is completely torn apart. I was about to pull the pan, and I just now decided to look to make sure it's actually the pan leaking. The oil pan is not even leaking on the car. Let me grab my little pencil light. Thank goodness I did not start to pull the pan, because pulling the subframe is really not all that big of a deal. I would say that's about 45 minutes of work, and honestly now I can clean all this junk up. But I started looking, I'm like, okay, the pan is not leaking here. It ain't leaking there, no. Came over to this side, this is where it's all wet. And every time I drive the car, you can see there's the oil on the exhaust manifold right there. So I started looking, I'm like, hey, it don't look like the pan's leaking. And then I started looking in here, and I can see the back of the valve cover. You can see oil up there on the valve cover. It is what it is, lesson learned. Never assume. I never even looked. And the reason why I never looked is because I thought it started leaking right after I did the rod bearings. But also right when I did the rod bearings, right after that, I pulled the valve covers to powder coat them wrinkle black. And apparently they're not sealed properly. So never assume. You should probably just double check before you spend some time. It would really suck if I pulled the pan, but I didn't. So that's cool. The good news is I can go ahead and get everything cleaned up. It's all pretty grimy under here from the leak, so I'm gonna go grab some degreaser because I'm fresh out of degreaser, and then we can go ahead, pressure wash everything, get this subframe back up in there, lower the car down, and fix the valve cover leak. The only problem with that is I think the supercharger may have to come off, that's a pain. So this time around, instead of just diving right in and automatically assuming it's the valve cover gasket, I'm actually doing a little bit of diagnosing. And I'm finding that there's oil on top of the valve cover, so I don't think it's the actual gasket. What I'm thinking is because we spray these things wrinkle black, it's not a completely flat surface right here where the little PCV breather thing sits. So it looks a little bit wet around there. I don't see how that's enough oil to drain all the way down like it has been onto the manifold, but it could be. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of do a half reassembly of this car just so we can run it. So I'm gonna get everything cleaned up, pressure wash everything, do a half reassembly, put oil in it, run it, and then I'm gonna let it sit on the lift overnight so I can exactly pinpoint if it is that PCV or I don't know, maybe there's multiple leaks. It is a BMW, so there could be multiple leaks. All right, update time. Got the car reassembled, or is like a half reassembled, put engine oil in it, ran it for a very long time. So I'm sitting on the lift, it is not leaking or seeping, or there's no oil wetness from anywhere. Not from the valve cover, not from the PCV, definitely not from the oil pan. So I'm not exactly sure what is leaking on the car. I'm glad it's not the pan. If it's a valve cover, it's a lot easier to do than the pan. And then in the meantime, you guys saw I pulled the headlight off. The passenger side headlight was leaking water, and I cannot figure out why the bulb wouldn't turn on. It's a little crusty. So we're getting the headlight all fixed up as well, but I'm gonna end the night right here. I'm gonna come back in the morning, and hopefully by the morning, this thing leaks a little bit of oil from somewhere so I can kind of pinpoint and figure out what exactly is going on. Well, it's the next day, and I'm gonna try to find this oil leak. I see a little bit up there on that back corner of the valve cover. Hi, looking for the parts department, please.
Yeah, one moment, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for calling the parts department at BMW of Spokane. All of our...
We found the problem. Pulled the valve cover to find this. Well, but it's interesting because it's not wet right there. It's wet down here. But that's clearly not proper. So that was an issue. And I cannot get a gasket here locally, which really sucks. All right, it's pretty easy to pull a valve cover on this car. So I'm just gonna put the gasket back on how it needs to be sitting, of course. And I think it's gonna be good to go. It didn't like pinch or tear or nothing with the gasket. I think it'll be fine. So I'm gonna throw it all back together and hopefully we should be good. If not, I think it's about 25-30 minutes to pull the valve cover, including removing the supercharger. It's a lot easier than I remember it being. Car is 100% back together, minus the wheels, headlights that we have to reassemble, and the front bumper. So let's go ahead and get this thing back together. Of course, with new sealant, I have a new lens as well, being that they're so cheap to replace. And then, of course, I ordered up a new ballast. That ain't gonna show up for a while, so I'll just put this on there for now, just so we don't fill it back up with water. hypothetically speaking, if the valve cover gasket was the only leak on the car, which I am believing it was, this thing should be good to go. Headlight is all fixed up, brand new lens, shouldn't have any more leaks. We do just got to get that new ballast in. But I am excited to have this thing back together. I do want to go ahead and throw on my all red tails. I put these ones on here when I first got the car and I like them, but I think the red version just fits the BMW better. So let's go ahead and get them swapped out. I can always go back to these in the future. We've ran these for like 2 years now. It's time to switch it up. New taillights are in. I took off the badge off the back. The headlights are fixed. The oil leak is fixed. The only thing I did not get around to today that I really wanted to is the check engine lights, but there's 3 codes that's showing an emissions code and then I think 2 O2 sensor codes. So I need to dive into that. That's a whole ass another day though. I don't even want to deal with that right now because I know I'll get frustrated because I probably won't be able to get it sorted right away. So I'm gonna go for a quick rip in this car. Here's the new look with the tails and the badgeless trunk. I think it looks sick. If it's driving around and you don't know it's an M, then it's okay. I always thought it was whack, just never got around to taking it off. All right, my friends, everything is good to go with the car. I don't smell any burning oil. Oil level is full, just fill up on fuel. One thing I did mess up on is getting the splines back together properly for the rack. So now our steering wheel is a little bit sideways, a little bit crooked, but this car needs the alignment anyway, so I'll take care of that then. I need to go out down to Mexico, do a quick rip, make sure we're gonna hit proper boost. I think this kit is supposed to build like 6 or 7 pounds of boost. It's not a lot, but it sure feels like a ripper. And you already know what we have to do. Being that we had a good old oil leak on the car, this thing is gonna get the official driveway test. You know what the driveway test is, Bobby? You don't know?
No. Oh, the oil test.
Is where you leave a car in the driveway, and if it's gonna leak oil, you're gonna see it.
Okay.
I hate BMWs, but now it's fixed.
I can't wait to get mine.
Who's working on it? Because I'm not.
It won't ever need to be worked on.
Every BMW needs to be worked on, boys. Look it, fixed the headlight too.
Beautiful.
New lens, cleaned up. I need to clean the car though.
Are the brakes on them yet?
What brakes?